It is my good fortune to bring Kirk Larson onto the show this morning. Kirk is the Western Washington Public Affairs Specialist. He's covering Washington, Idaho, Alaska, helping people, educate people about Social Security. He's been a guest of ours on the program for the last 10 years or so. We've had the good fortune to bring him on from time to time. And Kirk Larson, welcome back to Sound Retirement Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Boy, that's a great point. I think where we see that a lot, Kirk, is when people are delaying taking their benefits until age maybe 70. And so they may not realize that not only are they benefiting from the delayed retirement credits, but they're also benefiting from any inflation adjustments that are happening over time. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
Okay, so I've got a bunch of questions. These are questions that real people ask us all the time. So the first one is just real simply, if let's say my birthday is November and I'm turning 62 and I've decided that I'm going to start my Social Security right when I turn 62, when should I file for my benefit? Should I wait right until the month that I'm turning 62? Should I do it a month before? What's the best time to file for Social Security?
Well, interestingly enough, for age 62, this is our one time where you have to be a particular age throughout the month.
Okay.
So for age 62, you actually have to be 62 an entire month, meaning that if you're turning 62 in November, in order to file for the month of November, you'd have to be born on the 1st or the 2nd of the month.
Oh, okay.
If you're not, if you were born on the 3rd of the month, you actually could not file until December. You'd have to wait until the following month to actually file.
Oh, what if I was turning 66? How would that impact me?
66 does not matter. We actually consider you to be 66 throughout the month. So if you were, or any of the other ages for that matter, we consider you to be that age throughout the entire month. So if you were turning 66 in November, it doesn't matter if it was November 1st, the end of November, you qualify for the 100% benefit. If 66 is your full retirement age, you qualify for that benefit no matter when you file in the month. So let's say you did want your benefits to start that particular month, the month you're turning 66, or it could be 65 or 62 or 63, whatever it might be. If you want the benefits to start, typically we encourage people, depending on how they're filing, it changes on when we recommend that they should go ahead and file. If you want your benefits to start that month, you should probably file, if you're calling in to schedule an appointment, probably do it about 4 to 6 weeks ahead of time. When you call in to schedule an appointment with our offices, we have lead times. Of course, we have a lot of people that want to file for benefits. And so we would schedule you a particular appointment, but it could take 3 to 4 weeks to possibly get you the appointment. So if you wanted to start in November, I would call 4 to 6 weeks ahead of time asking for the soonest appointment.
Okay.
If, though, you're filing online, we complete our online applications very rapidly. And if you wanted benefits to start in November, you could file at some time during the month of November, and we typically start those claims, probably approve those claims within about 7 to 10 days. So it's a very rapid process if you're actually filing online.
So if my birthday's November, I'm going to start in November. Should I wait until November to file, or can I go online and say in September and say, hey, I just want to get this done. I want to file in September, but make a note that I don't want the benefit to actually start until November. Can I do that?
Very good point. Actually, you can. You can file up to 3 months in the future. So if it was June and you wanted to start in November, you wouldn't be able to do that. If you went online, the computer would say you're going to need to file the application later on. You can only go up to 3 months in the future. So yes, if it was September, you could go ahead and file with the month of September and indicate that you want the month of November. Now then, if you're doing that online, most likely, we're still not going to approve you until the month of November, because we're trying to take care of the people that are due money right now in the month of September, for example. So you would probably file it, and then you wouldn't hear anything for some time. And then probably during the month of November, when you're actually due benefits, we would go ahead and approve it then.
Okay.
If for some reason, though, we had time to process your claim, we didn't have as many people filing as we thought during the month of September and October, and we were able to get around to your claim, we might actually approve it earlier, and then you'd get a letter in the mail saying you've been, let's say in October we approved it, you might get a letter during the month of October saying you've been approved for November.
Okay. And so once I start it, let's say that I filed early in October. They approved it early. Let's say you guys decided to approve it early. I wanted it to start in November. When would I expect my first check to show up? Or my first direct deposit?
Now, that's always a good question. We pay all of our checks 1 month behind. So if you're filing and approved for the month of November, November's check arrives in December. And then December's in January and February, and so on. We also now stagger people's payments. A lot of people don't realize this, but we used to pay most people's payments on the 3rd of the month. Now we actually stagger payments based on when you're born in a particular part of the month. So if you're born in the first third of the month, your check will arrive on the second Wednesday of the month. If you're born in the middle third of the month, your check is going to arrive on the third Wednesday of each month. And if you're born in the last third of the month, your check is going to arrive on the fourth Wednesday of each month. So a lot of people don't realize this, but your check is not going to arrive on any particular date. Depending on when the second, third, or fourth Wednesday falls in a particular month, that's when your check is going to arrive. So you can't look at your Social Security check and say, I know it's going to arrive on the 25th, because the fourth Wednesday of the month might fall on a different date. So it can fluctuate from month to month slightly. And
with husband and wife, even though they're married, they're still going to have two different dates where those deposits are made?
That's correct. If they're filing independently on their own records, you have husband and a wife, they're filing separately on their own records. Depending on when they're born, that check is going to arrive, depending on where they're born in the month. So you might have one check that comes in on the second Wednesday, and then another check that's going to come in on the fourth Wednesday.
Boy, I'm so glad you mentioned this, because I've learned that retirement is all about cash flow. And Kirk, I don't know if I've told you this since the last time we talked, but we created some software recently called the Retirement Budget Calculator, because we really want people to understand their spending. But one of the things we give them the ability to do in that software is to plug in when they're going to receive that Social Security check. And so there's an ebb and flow that takes place. So you can't just assume that the Social Security is going to show up on the first day of the month and budget around that, because that may not be the case. And so that's one of the things our calculator allows people to do, is to really get granular to understand when these different cash flow things are going to be happening. When's money coming in and when's it going back out? So that's really helpful. The next question I wanted to ask you pertains to, and this is probably the one we get the most. Most people are looking at starting Social Security at either 62, their full retirement age, which for a lot of folks right now is 66, or waiting until age 70 to start their benefit. If somebody came to you and asked you, what do you think? When do you think somebody should start benefits? What are some of the questions they need to be asking, or some of the things they need to be taking into consideration when trying to make that determination?
Well, there's a few things that Social Security talks about. And first off, I will say this. Social Security is not an agency that's designed to give financial advice to people. We encourage people to seek out financial advice and to talk to different individuals, talk to different financial advisors, different groups to help you understand when you should take benefits. What Social Security emphasizes for people is that you should look at some very large concepts, some very large factors when allowing this to guide you on when you should file for benefits. And the first main one that we like to talk about is, number one, do you need the money?